I'm Faris.
I'm Rosie.
Yes, and together we are Genius Steals. 8 years ago, we decided to sell our things, leave our jobs, leave New York, and go out on the road.
We started realizing that there was a question we were asking and we were getting a very unsatisfactory response to.
Yeah, indeed.
So that question was, how are you? And when we asked this, no matter where we were, whether we were at work or at bars with our friends in New York, we got the same answer.
And it seemed to be the only acceptable answer. If you didn't answer this way, it felt like you were somehow missing something.
It was, I'm busy.
Busy.
I'm so busy.
Busy.
Very busy. Incredibly busy,
So
actually. That was something that drove us crazy because we think being busy is killing our creativity. When we only allocate time for work and we're constantly go, 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 we don't have time to reflect on this ever important skill, creativity, a muscle to be flexed.
Yeah, when we were agency, our lives were not our own. I was in meetings roughly between 10 and 6 every day of the week. So, and I kid you not, this is true. My board meetings for the agency were on Sunday afternoons because we were too busy during the week to meet with each other.
And so in January 2013, Faris proposed to me. We shared the same last name because we're not brother and sister, but in fact, husband and wife.
Yes.
And part of his proposal included the whole let's get married thing.
Yeah.
But part of his proposal included, let's quit our jobs and travel the world for 6 months or so and pick somewhere new to work. But once we started traveling, we realized two very important things. One, we were very bad at making decisions about where to live because we liked everywhere better than we liked somewhere. And two, it seemed like we didn't need to make that decision, that it was a false binary we had created for ourselves because so many clients were nonplussed that we did not have a home, that we considered ourselves homeless or vagrants or nomads, as we like to call ourselves.
Yeah, people started reaching out to us with sort of requests for assistance, and those emails continued for the last 7 years, really.
March 13th will be our 8-year mark. We've been to 41 countries, and then during the pandemic, we've only been in 3 countries and 10 cities.
When we were in New York, we spoke a lot about how creativity is about challenging convention. So when we thought we'd start our own business, some of the conventions we thought we could dismantle were having an office, living in a single country, having a clearly defined set of services.
Absolutely.
All of which seemed like conventions that had been enforced onto the industry in this sort of siloed way. And having worked across lots of different kinds of agencies, we sort of felt that we had an opportunity to have a broader conversation with clients and indeed with agencies to help them and build a business.
Because when we talk about creativity today, we're often talking about commercial creativity. We are in the business of creativity. It is not enough to be creative for creativity's sake. So when we say challenge conventions, we're saying look at the ways that the obvious things happen and then challenge if that is the case. Creativity, it's a muscle to be flexed. It's not an inherent skill. It's not something you either have or you don't have. It's something that you build over time.
One of the things that we learned pretty quickly traveling is that there are no right answers. There are lots of right answers. And every country and even agency that we work with in different places has solved the same problems in different ways. Because humans are pretty similar everywhere, just how we do things tends to change. But creativity is also a business. It's the business of advertising. We literally deploy our creativity in service of brands in order to
help companies because they don't want ads, they want growth. Advertising is simply a tool for growth. And so we are looking at non-obvious ways to help them solve business problems or to help them achieve growth.
But equally, individually, creativity is going to be a very useful skill in the future and indeed now, we think, because they will automate anything that can be automated. So if what you do can be routinized, automated, then it will probably be done by a robot at some point in your lifetime.
Creativity is job security. It is also non-obvious problem solving. And so the more you know, the better you think. When we talk about ideas as new combinations, you can think of this as each idea is made up of Legos, right? If we are building out our ideas in a physical structure, maybe we're building a Ferris wheel out of Legos, but each little Lego is that bit of inspiration, is that bit of knowledge. So the more that we expand our adjacent possible, the more we open ourselves up to different kinds of knowledge, different kinds of experiences. And we say you are the ideas you eat. So the more diverse ideas that you expose yourself to, the more diverse in your mind you become, right?
There's no such thing as normal. Like what we think of as normal is just a set of conditions that we happen to have got used to where we grew up, and every country has them and every town has them, and they aren't normal. They're as weird as anybody else's are to you. So that's an interesting thing to sort of reframe kind of a slightly, Eurocentric, Anglo-centric version of the world that we seem to have kind of because of the dominance, even just in advertising terms. Ad agencies are mostly owned by American and British companies. They dominate the award shows. There's a strong sense globally that that's the sort of top of advertising, but it's just not true. It's just how the industry is structured. The thing that we find quite a lot, so we just came to a new place for the first time. We haven't done this for a long time, but every time we do it, it's a bit scary. And you have to work out lots of things very quickly. Essentially, how to buy a SIM card, which involves passports and like all kinds of weird stuff in India because of various reasons. How to buy coffee, where you can change money, what the money is worth, what the money should be worth. And every time you do it, it's sort of hard and painful. And then after about a week, you just don't notice it anymore. It's just there. And that process, reminding myself of that process each time, as Rosie likes to say, it reminds you can do hard things.
Regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of your job title, regardless of what you do day to day, your most important project is you. We like to say, make your life's work. It takes a lot to flex these creative muscles, but we get so much out of it. And no matter what you do, again, creating these opportunities for yourselves to be creative and to be happy and to find joy and a lightness and new experiences, this will impact your work life. This will make you better at whatever you do because creativity is a muscle to be flexed, right? Again, it's not a skill that's inherent. It's something that we get better at the more we do it. We are not living in a time that the world just gives us psychological safety in the pandemic. We have to find moments in order to combat those fears. And that might look different for different people.
Crises force changes. People hate change. Humans dislike change intensely. It's very, very upsetting to us. It forces us to do hard things. We don't like doing hard things. We don't want to do it. But when you're forced to make changes, sometimes those changes are actually really good.
So yes, creativity thrives in psychological safety, but it also thrives when we don't have time constraints. It also thrives when we don't have budgetary constraints. There are a lot of conditions in which it thrives, and we're never going to have the perfect scenario or the perfect situation for creativity. So instead of looking for that one thing to be true, it's about constantly building those muscles and building that toolbox so that when the hard things happen, you are able to call on some of those existing tools. geniusskills.co/subscribe will take you to Strands of Stolen Genius, which is our newsletter, where we have about a little more than 12,000 followers, and HubSpot named us as one of the 7 essential reads for the curious creative. So we're always happy when we get feedback like that from people other than our moms.
Absolutely. Anecdotally, that our subscribers tend to be very attractive, intelligent people. That's what we've been told.
Exactly. So if you're attractive and intelligent,
self-identify, feel free to self-identify, and that's kids like you, then you might want to get involved.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it, and we hope you'll stay in touch. And thanks again to our hosts.